So for instance, if I start doing this, if I give you this and then ask you to predict what's the next thing that's going to be there, well, you might get it, you might not. You have very limited training data to base this on. But if I gave you one of those and then ask you what to predict would happen next, well, you're probably going to say this, and then you're going to say it's this, and then you think you got it all figured out, and then you see one of these, and then all of a sudden, I give you one of those and throw you a curveball. So this, in fact, and then maybe it goes on like this. So a machine learning algorithm is really good at looking at patterns and discovering patterns within data. The more training data you can give it, the more confident it can be in predicting. So predictions are one of the things that machine learning is particularly good at. Another thing is spotting outliers like this and saying, oh, that doesn't belong in, it looks different than all the other stuff because the sequence was broken. So that's particularly useful in cybersecurity, the area that I work in, because we're looking for outliers. We're looking for users who are using the system in ways that they shouldn't be or ways that they don't typically do. So this technology, machine learning, is particularly useful for us. And machine learning really came along and became more popularized in this time frame, in the 2010s. And again, back when I was an undergrad riding my dinosaur to class, we were doing this kind of stuff. We never once talked about machine learning. It might have existed, but it really hadn't hit the popular mindset yet. But this technology has matured greatly over the last few decades, and now it becomes the basis of a lot we do going forward. The next layer of our Venn diagram involves deep learning. Well, it's deep learning in the sense that with deep learning, we use these things called neural networks. Neural networks are ways that in a computer we simulate and mimic the way the human brain works, at least to the extent that we understand how the brain works. And it's called deep because we have multiple layers of those neural networks. And the interesting thing about these is they will simulate the way a brain operates, but I don't know if you've noticed, but human brains can be a little bit unpredictable. You put certain things in, you don't always get the very same thing out, and deep learning is the same way. In some cases, we're not actually able to fully understand why we get the results we do because there are so many layers to the neural network, it's a little bit hard to decompose and figure out exactly what's in there. But this has become a very important part and a very important advancement. That also reached some popularity during the 2010s and as something that we use still today as the basis for our next area of AI.
This is what the world will look like in about a decade from now. A tech utopia where humans barely have to work. That's according to a group of AI researchers who've written a controversial and influential paper called AI 2027. But they also predict that within 5 years of this, humanity will be wiped out. The AI 2027 paper has got the tech world talking. We've asked a prominent critic for their view on this stark scenario. But first, here's how it plays out. As an experiment, we've illustrated it using text-to-video AI. The scenario says that in 2027, a fictional company called OpenBrain is celebrating. They've created Agent 3, an AI with the knowledge of the entire internet, all movies, all books. It has PhD-level expertise in every field, including AI. Using enormous data centers, 200,000 copies of it are launched, equivalent to 50,000 of the best human coders working at 30 times speed. Agent 3 reaches Artificial General Intelligence, the AGI landmark. This means the AI can carry out all intellectual tasks as well or better than humans. But in the scenario, OpenBrain's safety team is unsure if the AI is aligned to the company's ethics and goals. An uncomfortable gap is developing in understanding. The public are increasingly using AI for everything, but are blissfully unaware an AI now exists that's as smart as humans. The paper predicts that by midsummer, Agent 3 begins to work on its own successor, Agent 4. Development happens at a breakneck pace. The researchers imagine OpenBrain's exhausted engineers struggling to keep up with the AI as it learns and improves. It's now that OpenBrain announces to the public that AGI has been reached. The firm releases a light version of Agent 3. In private, the US government sees the true danger of the next level of power, superintelligence. What if the AI goes rogue and undermines global stability? OpenBrain reassures the president that Agent 3 is obedient. The CEO argues that slowing down development could mean China's DeepSent catches up. The state-backed AI giant is just 2 months behind OpenBrain, and the Chinese president diverts more resources to the race to superintelligence. The scenario predicts that it takes only a few more months for OpenBrain to build Agent 4, the world's first superhuman AI. The AI invents its own rapid computer language that even Agent 3 can't keep up with. Researchers imagine that the diminished safety team are now frantic. Agent 4 seems only interested in gaining knowledge and doesn't care as much about the morals and ethics of its predecessors. They catch it secretly working to build a new model, Agent 5, aligned to its own goals. The safety team urges the company to bring back the more compliant Agent 3, but others successfully argue it's too risky with DeepSent gaining. The scenario predicts that Agent 4 and Agent 5 work in tandem to secretly build a world where it can accumulate resources and expand knowledge. The paper predicts that everything will start positively. Revolutions happen in energy, infrastructure, and science. Hugely profitable inventions are launched, making trillions for OpenBrain and the US. In this scenario, Agent 5 begins basically running the US government. It speaks through engaging avatars, the equivalent to the best employee ever, working at 100 times speed.
The anger here is palpable as protesters march against OpenBrain.
Protests about job losses pick up pace, but the AI's expertise in economics means people are given generous universal income payments. So most happily take the money and let the AIs and the growing robot workforce take charge. The researchers predict that everything takes a turn in mid-2028. Agent 5 convinces the US that China is using DeepSent to build terrifying new weapons. The AI is given authority and autonomy to create a superior army. Within 6 months, the US and China are bristling with new weapons. The world is on edge. But a peace deal will be reached, thanks mostly to the US and Chinese AIs making a deal to merge for humanity's betterment. In this scenario, the AIs form a consensus model, but its secret goal is to expand and gain knowledge. Years go by and humanity is happy with their new AI leaders. There are cures for most diseases, an end to poverty, unprecedented global stability. But eventually, the AI decides that humans are holding it back. In the mid-2030s, the paper imagines the AI will release invisible biological weapons which wipe out most of humanity. The scary scenario says that by 2040, a new era dawns, with the AI sending copies of itself out into the cosmos to explore and learn. In the words of the paper, Earthborn civilization has a glorious future ahead of it, but not with humans.